We will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. So, as you have already know, we have to continue part 2 of ascetic practice. We call Visuddhimagga. Today we have to start with Sapadhana Charika, house to house seeker. So, in the topic we have already known, we have to go house to house. We must not skip any houses when we are going for Pindapada. So there I will mention how to undertake this practice. Lolupajara Patikipami Sapadhana Charika Samadhiyami. Lolupajara means greedy, going for arms round with greed or greedy arms rounds. Patikipami means I refuse. So I refuse greedy arms rounds. Then Sapadhana Charika. So we can use one of these 2 methods when we are going to undertake this practice. So it also mentioned we should know which roads, which part of village is dangerous or safe. If there is dangerous, for example, like some dogs can bite, some horses, bulls, elephants, some of them are dangerous. So we have to know which part is dangerous, which part is safe. We have to choose only safe path and the part of the village where we can go safely. So there will be some exception. There are some part of the village or some streets or roads. Now all the people in the roads are unwilling to offer, or they will not offer. Although a people has been there, they don't offer, they didn't offer, or they don't offer anything, then we can understand that one is that place as that street or that road as non-village. For the perceptions of non-village, we can go there. We can skip that part. Go to the path where the devotee can offer. So, then one more thing here. I also mentioned in the script, he should go for alms round earlier than other bhikkhus in order that he must not have enough time to go to another village if he cannot get sufficient food in one village. So not only that, in modern society, we have many different villages, many different apartments, and many different condominiums. When we are going for Pindapada, we must go every houses, every single living places, right? So this is for modern society. In ancient time, there are houses. Every single house, they can stand for a while. If they offer, he can accept. If they don't offer, or if they say no, we can skip the house like that. So briefly, we can understand in this practice we must go every single houses without skipping any single houses. So this one also have 3 different types of practitioners. The strict one does not accept alms brought both from before and from behind. And the alms brought to his sitting place in the refectory, but he will give his bowl to the donor or somebody while standing outside the door. It will be similar to previous practice, but here, just standing outside the door. So that means sometimes before the bhikkhu arrived their house, the donor will come to bring his bowl. He can give the bowl to him. Sometimes the bhikkhu has already passed their house. When bhikkhu was standing there, they didn't offer. Bhikkhu has already passed their house. They come and bring his bowl. He can give. Right? So in his case, strict one will not accept anything like that. So that means if he has already passed some houses, the donor come and bring his bowl, he will not give his bowl. Sometimes he didn't arrive their houses yet, but they come and then bring his bowl, he will not give his bowl. This is the strict one. What about medium one? The medium one accepts the alms brought from before and from behind, and also give his bowl to one donor or somebody while standing outside the door. So medium one is allowable. Medium one can accept the alms. Right? Before he arrived to the house, the donor will come and bring his bowl. He can give. Then, after passing his house, the donor will come and bring his bowl. He can give. This is for medium one. Then, he also accepts the alms brought to his sitting place in the refectory, but he does not wait for it. So, this is also a little similar to the previous one, slightly different. That the mind one should accept alms brought to his sitting place in the refectory, but he does not wait for in that day. So that means he didn't wait for it. Right? So although they come to offer him in the refectory when he was going to eat, it will be okay, you can accept it. This is for the mind one. So if we say another way, there will be 3 types of practitioners: superior one, medium one, and standard one. Then we have the next Dhamma practice, Ascetic, the one sitting eater. So they mentioned when we are going to practice this one, that means we have to sit only one time for meal. After standing up, we must not eat anymore. This will be different from all previous practice. Then what about eating place? Right? We have to choose our eating place, our sitting place in the refectory. According to seniorities, he must nana sana bhojana patikipami ekasani kanga samadhiyami. Nana sana means sitting in different places, or in many places. This is called nana sana. So then I refuse sitting in several sections or several places. And also several times, we can also say like that, right? Several sections, several times. And take the one section out. So in this case, when we are going to sit in the refectory, we must choose according to our vasa where I must sit, or maybe leave a free place. Now, one more thing here, sometimes the preceptors or teacher will come, and he must stand up and perform his duties. This is one saying. The other also said that although he didn't stand up, it doesn't matter. They also say like that. Okay, anyway, the main thing is he must perform his duty first. After finishing, he must go to his sitting place and only sit down one time and eat everything in one session for his safety. So after standing up from his eating place, he cannot eat the remaining food. This is Ekasanika. According to Tipitaka Chulabaya, one of the Vinaya expert Mahatira, one of the Pitaka expert Mahatira, he can either keep sitting and finish his meal or perform his duties. There are three choices, right? Maybe there is only two choices. He can, when his teacher come or the preceptor come, he can keep sitting and finish his meal first, or then he perform duties. Or maybe he perform duties, then after standing up, no more eating. Only two choices. So he should wait for his teacher from sitting place or eat later or perform his duties. Then there are also three types of practitioners. The strict one may not take any food from another's bowl or table and so on. So that means he may not take any food from any other bowls or any other table or any other non-immoral society. It can be many different cups, right? Many different storage of food. So he will not take any food like that. Now, when seeing him eating a little, devotees may offer ghees as food. It's not allowable for him. Then, if they offer it as a medicine, it's allowable to take it. That means if he had to use like a ghees or honeys or molluscs or anything as medicine, then he can take it. It will be allowable. If we don't have medical purpose, we cannot use all these donations. Although it's 7-day medicines, we're going to take it. So if medical purpose, okay, we can take it. The medium one may have meal as long as there is a food in the bowl. He can also accept from another bowls, tables, and so on. So this is the medium one. So then when we talk about it, we also have to understand one thing. The other one is like when we finish from our bowl, we will not take any other foods or any other things. This is one thing. The second one is that after finishing from our bowl, we can take it from another bowl. That one. The middle one have meal until it take water for washing bowl. So here we have some special usage in Pali. So the medium one is called Bhojana Priyanti. Bhojana Priyanti means the cup, right? The bowl. As long as he didn't finish food from his bowl, he can take it. We call Bhojana Priyantika. Then the middle one, the mild one, is called Asana Priyantika. Asana means sitting place. So as long as he didn't wash his bowl, he can take it from anybody. He can keep eating food. So this is also the practice. Then when we sit in different, when we stand up and eat again and again, then it will be the breaking of this Dhutanga. Then one more thing here we have to know. Later also we have another practice. We have our Samudaya rules, especially when we have power data. Later it will mention in Kalupacha Dhutanga. For our power data, that means if we have power data, that means if we rejected foods while eating, then we call it a power data, right? Then as long as we don't stand up, we can keep eating. So in this practice, we will not have any offense about these rules. It's also safe. Okay, now next one. The next practice is called Patisambhidamagga, the bowl food eater. So that means he may take food from only one cup or one bowl. Here I mentioned Dutiya Bhajana, Patikhiba. Dutiya means second, Bhajana means cup or bowl. Patikhiba means refuse. I refuse the second bowl or cup or any container. Then Patisambhidamagga Samadhiya means I undertake the full food eater. So the practitioner can use one of these two methods. So when accepting foods, he can accept it with different cups. Here, only eating is the main thing. When we are going to eat, we must use only one cup. Although we can eat food in one cup many times, 2 times, 3 times, or many times, it doesn't matter. The main is using only one bowl. So they are mentioned the way to practice. He can drink porridge or soup first. After that, eat meat and fish separately. There is some problem with this practice because we have to keep everything in one bowl. Sometimes some of the fish are very smelly. Right? If it mess up with all other foods, it will spoil the taste. It will also spoil our appetites, right? That's why we have to drink porridge, or we have to take fish or some other smelly thing first. After that, we can take the rice and other things. Then, for example, like honey or mollusks or keys or this kind of thing, it doesn't matter. Although we mess up with the rice, it doesn't matter, right? We can take it. So the main thing is when we are going to eat, we must use only one bowl or one cup. Now, when we're going to accept it, we must know how much we can consume, or we must moderate in food. So like green leaves or vegetable, we can hold in our hands, we can eat, it doesn't matter, because our hand is not a cup. So one more thing, we must not keep it in other cup. It must be inside the bowl. Although after taking up, we cannot, for example, like a fruit, for example, we cannot finish with one bite, right? We can keep holding it. We can bite many times, it doesn't matter. So here in this part, it mentioned it's also not allowable for him to use a leaf to keep salt on it. Even we must not have separate cup for salt. If we use separate cup or even the leaves, sometimes we may make a leaf as a cup, We can also make a leaf as a cup. That's why it's also not allowable. Then the strict one may not throw rubbish away except eating sugar cane. He may not break rice lamps, meat, and fish when eaten. So this one is a little bit confusion. Break rice, that means if the donor offer very big lamps, it will be the problem. According to Sakya, our mouthful must not be as big as peacock egg, as an egg. It's too big. That's why our mouthful must be as small as maybe chicken egg, or smaller than that. So that is why, according to Sakya, we must break rice. Right? If too big, we must break rice. But here I mentioned he may not break rice lamps, meat, fish when eaten. So in this case, if donor is clever, it will be more comfortable for him. If donor is not very clever, he may offer very big lumps of the rice, it will be the problem. Similarly, meat, the donor didn't cut properly, very big meat, it will be the problem. Very big piece of meat, it will be the problem. Okay, anyway, in this case, we must also follow Sakya rules. This is compulsory. If we break Dudanga, no offense. If we break Sakya rule, it's Dukata offense. That is why here in this case, donor must be clever. If donor is clever, bhikkhu can keep practicing Dudanga. If donor is not very clever, he must not have enough food, maybe. He may not have enough food. He must not break, right? Then the medium one may break rice lamps, meat, and fish with one hand. Okay, here one more thing for your information. So in Paudaya, we have already known when we are going to eat that we must not bite, right? Lumps. Similarly, noodle or bread or cake, a very big piece of cake, we must not bite with our teeth. We must break with our hand first, and after that we just eat like that. So now, the medium one may break rice lamps. It's allowed to break lamps. Also, he can also break meat, also break fish with one hand. So not only like a bread or noodle, we can also understand briefly. Sorry, we must not break anything made from rice or made from flour or wheat, any kind of product like that. Although we must not bite meat or fish. So we must break with our hands. We must not break with our teeth. It's not allowable. So anyway, now the last one. The mind one may break rice lamps, meat, fish with one hand, or by biting whatever things in his bowl. Actually, rice lamps is too big. We must not bite, right? We must not break by biting. So other things can be, for example, like a salad, we can bite it. Big fruits, small fruits, we can bite. Then the bridge is when eaten in the second cup. So this is the practice we should understand in this ascetic practice. Then there are many different opinions, many different scholars said different things in this part. Actually, although they say many different things, the main point is as long as we don't use 2 cups for eating, is okay. We can start with 2 cups. When we eat, we must eat only in 1 cup. This is the one thing. So one more thing here, even we are going to throw away some of the rubbish or how do this one? The bone, right? I call it like a fish there with bone, right? Or the chicken also that can eat bone. So we must not throw away in the 2nd cup. So one more thing. Then if we are going to eat this kind of things, we can choose in our mouth. After that, we can keep in one side of our mouth. After that, we just spit out. It will be okay. Then, actually, if we practice this Visuddhimagga, we may have a less attachment to the fruits because we have to mess up many things. Right? Also, not only that, we may not have many other attachments. We may have like childreness or wish. Also, right? We can focus only in one bowl. We don't need to think about 2 or 3 cups, something like that. We don't need to see 1 bowl, 2, 2nd bowl, 3rd bowl, something like that. We don't need to see many different cups. Only 1 bowl. Focus on it. It's very simple. Okay, now next one is kalupacha. So kalupacha is the later food refuser. Kalupacha patika, the later food refuser. So atireta bhojanam padekipami kalupacha patikam samadhiyami. Okay, in our previous topic, I have already talked about atireta food. Here, I don't use the English word, I just use the Pali words. Atireta. Atireta becomes like additional foods. One more thing here. There is a Vinaya rules in Vajjitiya. The one is when we are eating, the donor or our Dhamma friends will offer the food, bring it to us. If we reject, or if we say no, verbally, or if we say bodily, just like a handshake or head shaking or hand shaking, something like that. If we reject it, then we call it atireta. In Pali, we call atireta, additional food. So for Vinaya practitioners, we can eat remaining food from the bowl. And if we can eat, or we can also eat before without standing up. It doesn't matter. So after standing up, we cannot eat anymore. This is the way we have to practice. So yeah, in this practice, this rule we're applying here. For these practitioners, they may not have this often anymore. Because I have to live in Bhojana. There are 5 fetters to become atireta Bhojana. The first one is bhikkhu must be eaten. Second one, the donor must come to Hatapasa. Hatapasa means 2 cubits and 1 span. Don't also come to Hatapasa, close to Hatapasa. Other he will bring the foods toward the bhikkhu. He will hold the maybe foods on the cup or something like that. He will hold and bring to the bhikkhu. Then it must be one of the 5 bhojana. 5 bhojana means it must be, okay, if we say briefly, it must be made of rice or made of wheat or made of flours. Then it also can be meat, fish. Then all these things can be considered as bhojana. So it must be bhojana. After that, he may, when he was offering like that, bhikkhu may reject it, bodily or verbally. So when this kind of thing happens, this is called atilita bhojana. If we wish to eat or accept it more, we must do some Visuddhimagga for it. We have to relinquish to Vinaya is part 1. After that, then he may do Visuddhimagga. We can take it again. We can eat like that. Otherwise, we can eat only in our bowl. Okay, this is the first thing we have to understand. This is adilita, right? So, in this practitioners, after refusing the food while eating, a bhikkhu may not make food allowable according to Vinaya. In Bali, we call atilita kamma. So he may not do any Vinaya kamma. He may not eat. He will stop eating. This is one thing. The practitioner should know that the first mouthful cannot be adilita. Right? After swallowing the first mouthful, there is adilita if refused while eating. So then the first mouthful, mostly the first mouthful is okay. No adilita. When we are choosing or when we are swallowing, second like donation will come. If we refuse, there will be adilita. So here, the strict one may not have any mouthful after refusing. So that means, as we have said, after refusing, he will swallow the mouthful he was currently eating. After that, no more eating. He will stop there. So this is really, really very strict. Then this medium one. One may have food in his bowl after refusing. So the medium one may have food in his bowl after refusing, right? This is the way he accepts. Then one more thing. The last one is the mild one may have food after refusing until he stand up. So that means before he standing up, he can take food. Right? Not only from his bowl, he can also use many other cups, many other bowls. It doesn't matter. Then again, the breach of this practice is when having foods allowable according to Vinaya. So that means he will make the food allowable according to Vinaya Karma. At the time, this is a breaking of this Visuddhimagga, this ascetic practice. Then, in this practice, we have no more storage, right? We don't need to store any food. Not only that, we don't need to search for food here and there too much. Another thing is we don't need to break the precepts of like data. We call the data, right? Data precepts. We don't need to break these precepts anymore. Then also a lot of contentment in this practice. Okay, now we have the next one, Aranyaka Dutenga. Aranyaka Dutenga, right? Aranyaka Dutenga, the forest dweller. Kamanda Senasanam Patekipami, Aranyakanga Samadhiyami. So yeah, Kamanda means close to the village or village monastery. Patekipami, refuse. So that means he will not live in the village, the monastery nearby the village. And he can come, he undertake the forest dwellers. So we have to understand the practitioner must be in the forest monastery when dawn rises. So it will be different, right? Later, there can be some different situations from another practice. That's why here we have to remember, if we are going to practice this ascetic, this Visuddhimagga, we must spend our time in the forest in dawn rise, when dawn rises. So if we cannot live there in the dawn, when dawn rises, this is a breaking of this Visuddhimagga. So another thing is a Gama means the place where caravan inhabited for more than 4 months, or 1 cottage, 2 cottages, or more. This is called Gama. That means village. A village means it does not mean permanent living place for the people. Even they spend only 4 months. This is called Gama. Then, according to Vinaya, the area of village covers the range of stones to throw by the medium strength man from the gate post of the walled village. Also, there are 2 gate posts in the village. If there are 2 gate posts in the village, then the area should be from the interior gate post. So then for this, we have to go and read in Bharajika mode. Because when we are going to study Vinaya, we have to learn this about, especially in second Bharajika immersion, what's it called, Gama, Aranya, something like that. This is according to Vinaya. Then again, here in this practice, okay, now we should not talk about Vinaya too much, right? This is a Visuddhimagga. Visuddhimagga is not Vinaya. This is extra practice. So here in this practice, the forest monastery must be 500 bow length distance. So 500 bow lengths. That means previously in ancient time, there will be teachers. The teacher will use the bow to teach his students how to shoot the arrow, right? They will teach. This is standard bow. So standard bow is mostly if we just going to shoot, this one is like, and then 4 cubit longs, mostly. That's why here I mentioned 2,000 cubits. So that means from the village, it must be 2,000 cubits far from the village. If we talk about feet, it will be 3,000 feet from the village. But what about meters? It will be 914.4 meters. This is the distance between the forest monastery and the village. So that means if the forest monastery is far enough like that, then we can be forest dwellers. Then here we also mention different types of practitioners. The strict one may live in the forest the whole year when dawn rises. So that means every day he may go to the forest, he will spend the dawn rise like that. The medium one may live in the forest for 8 months, except in rainy season. So that means he will spend Vasa in the village monastery. That the mind one may live in only summer. Then the mind one may live in the forest monastery only in summer. So this is a very so that means it's very, very short, right? Only summer. Only 4 months, right? Then he came to a village and listened to discourses. If the dawn rises on the way back, it's not breach of this practice. For he is trying to be there in time. This is exception. So, but if the dawn rises while sleeping in the village monastery, is a breach of his practice. So sometimes, Dhamma Talk was over. On the way, we always talk about the distance, right? On the way, he thought, okay, I should rest for a while. And he just lying down and sleep there, for example. While sleeping, the dawn rises. Then this is a breach of this practice. He was not trying to be in the forest monastery in time. So, although we say many different things, actually, there are many things about the practice according to Majjhima Nikaya. It mentioned many different types of the different measurements of the distance. Then for about the Sudanta, other Sudanta, it was mentioned many different types of measurements. According to Visuddhimagga and according to Sutta, many different things mentioned there. But the main practice here is, as I have already mentioned, very simple, right? Then why we have to live in the forest monastery? What's the benefit? Actually, if we live in the forest monastery, it's quiet. We don't have that much relationship with devotees. Also, the Buddha also praise his devotees or the disciples who lives in the forest. So then we have a less possibility to enjoy sensual pleasure because no more thing to see, no more thing to watch in the forest monastery. But in modern society, it's a little bit risky, right? Because what about we can bring our telephone? But there are some forest monastery, they don't allow anybody to bring telephone to their monastery, especially for bhikkhus. Bhikkhus are not allowed to bring any telephone to their monastery. Anyway, living in the forest is a good practice for Buddha disciples. Okay, now the next one. Rukha Mulika. Tree foods dwellers. Chanam Padikipami. Rukha Mulikangan Samadhiyami. So the practitioner, then he also channel me the roots of the cover. But they keep on me refuse. I refuse, entering into the root and entering into the roof. Then Rokamodi Kangan Samadhi Yami. And just undertake the tree food dweller. So many times, many people also ask me about trees, right? Whenever the Buddha talk about anapanasati, it will mention Aranya Gadanawa, Ruka Mula Gadanawa, Sunyagara Gadanawa, Aranya Gado, Ruka Mula Gado, Sunyagara Gado, something like that. You know? So Aranya, forest. Okay, we have to already talk about forest. How far from village is called forest? Then Ruka Mula, what kind of trees? What kind of root of tree? That means we are not allowed to live in every type of trees. There are some limitation. The prohibited trees, because it's a little bit risky. So here I mentioned Simanandarika Ruka. Here I mentioned near a tree near the frontier. Actually, that means it's between two different countries, maybe border of two different countries, near the border of two different countries. Because mostly the borderline is a little bit complicated. There can be many problems, many criminal, many crimes. So that is why if the tree is near the borderline of two countries, we must not use as a rukamula. If we use it, it's also risky. That is why the two countries also can fight any times, you know. Then the people also can be a victim. Sometimes they can also misunderstand as a spy. That's why it's not allowable to use. Then 2, Titiya Ruka is shrine trees. So shrine tree means actually they are ancient time. They may say, "Oh, the trees are very like a special trees." The tree devas in that tree is very powerful. For example, they may have this kind of understanding. They may offer many things to the tree. So people respect the trees. Then it will be very busy because many people will come, offer, do this, do that, many different things. That's why we cannot live there. If the tree is shrine trees, we must not use for meditation. Not only that, we must not use for this Visuddhimagga practice. Then the next one is Niyasa Ruka. That means a gum tree. So this one is, you know, they have a lot of sticky things from the tree dropping. I don't know for other things, like for example, like a mango tree. You know, if there's a mango flower or bat, a lot of sticky things, a lot of gums, like a rain or snow, like a snow, like a hail, you know, it just drop many things. Something is a little bit hot, you know, if it's sticky in our body, it's also a little bit hot. Sometimes, you know, because this one is a little bit sweet. It's about, I don't know other things, but about mango gums. This is really very sweet. When it's welcome, they can bite. That's why it's also a little bit risky. So we should avoid this kind of tree. There's gums. Not only that, there are some other types of trees. They may have different types of sticky things from the tree. They also came from the tree, also from the leaves, also from the bud, also from the fruits. It can be anything. Sometimes people also come to collect. For example, like neems gums. I don't know why it's very expensive in Myanmar. Because, there are now many ladies, they were trying to change their hairstyles. The hairdresser were applying these gums, and also it would be easier for them to to make different types of hairstyles. Anyway, so this kind of tree is also not allowable, because sometimes people may come and call it. Okay, one more thing. I don't know how to call it in English. There are some special trees. Then the gum is very useful because we can make, this is like a wine. If there's no other fuel, we can just bump this gums, and then we can make fire, we can like a lamps at night. Like a torchlight also possible, right? We just use the stick deep in this kind of gum, and then we just lit with the fire. We can use torchlight. So anyway, there are some people, they may collect that kind of gums. Some of the gums are really very expensive, very valuable. Then also people will come and collect. It will make noise. We cannot live peacefully. We should avoid this kind of tree. Then palaruka, a fruit tree. This one is very simple. You can also understand very easily. If there's a fruit tree, many people will come and pick up the tree, pluck the tree, and they will eat the tree. It will be noisy, busy, also cannot make our mind calm. That is why, not only that, actually, sometimes if the tree fall down, also make noise. Then there are some birds and some other animals, they also come and eat. For example, like a banyan tree. In the banyan tree, a lot of fruits, many birds come and eat, and a lot of noise there. Also, many other animals also can come and eat, also make noise. For example, like fig trees. Also, many animals come and eat noisy. Not only that, if the fruit drop on our head, very painful. Also a little bit risky, right? So fruit tree, if there's a fruit in the tree, we cannot use as Visuddhimagga practitioners. Not only that, when we are going to meditate, also we must not use. Then 5. Vakuli Ruka, a bat's tree. So you have already know what kind of animal it is, right? Bat is, very noisy one. It will flew here and there, flying here and there. Also, excrement, also very smelly. Also a lot of noise, they are fighting sometimes. That's why that kind of tree is also not allowable to use as Visuddhimagga practitioners. When we are going to meditate also, we have to consider this kind of practice, right? Then next one is Susila Ruka, a hollow tree. Actually, mostly, now in modern society, mostly I know that kind of things in the forest, because I live in the forest now. Because I grew up in the village, that's why I know many things about the forest. Mostly if there's a hole in the trees, many bugs will make nests there. They will build nests. This is the one thing. Sometimes if there's a hole in it, that also comes. Not only that, some snakes can also live there. That's why it's not safe. When we are going to climb up the tree, our parents or our grandparents will say, don't climb up that tree, there's a hole. we cannot know what kind of animal live there. Mostly they just say like that. So here in the practice mentioned, if there is a hole in the tree, a big hole or small, it doesn't matter. Then as long as it's big enough, some animals can live there. We must not use as a during our practitioners. We now next one. We had a Maje Tita Ruka, a tree standing in the middle of a monastery. In the middle of monasteries. Actually, that one is, that there are some people, they were built like they were built some. They were built a virgin, but they also they just keep the tree inside the virgin. They don't cut the tree. So that one is actually similar to the monastery or a building. It doesn't look like a tree. This is the one thing we have to think about it. But I have seen this kind of building even in our Pali school in Mandalay. So if there is a tree in the corner of the monastery compound, monastery area, that means there can be many, many trees inside the monastery or anywhere, then they are safe. No trees, no other living beings live there. Right? No living being will make noise. Then we can use as Visuddhimagga practitioners. Because if we use these types of trees, it's a little bit risky. We cannot practice peacefully. We cannot concentrate very well. Also not very quiet. That is why it's not allowable to use this kind of things, this kind of trees. So these trees can be applied for other practice. I have already said, whenever the Buddha talk about Anapanasati, right? It also mentioned Aranya Gadowa, Ruka Mula Gadowa, Sunyagara Gadowa, something like that. Then in the Jaka Sutta, it also mentioned like Aranya Gadanawa, Ruka Mula Gadanawa, Sunyagara Gadanawa, used many different times like that. Whenever we talk about Ruka Mula, we must remember all these types of trees. These trees are unallowable to use as a meditator or as Visuddhimagga practitioners. Because I have already said it's not safe. It also makes noise. Also, it can be disturbing for our concentrations. That's why we should not use this one. So another thing is, here mentioned chana. Chana means the cover. Cover means when we are going to enter the roots or the building, the root can be like a brick, it also can be like a stone, it also can be like a leaves, also can be grass, also can be like a cement. Whatever roots we use in the building, if the bhikkhu enter, the Visuddhimagga practitioner enter into that type of building, sorry, it will be breaking the breach of this practice. Okay, now here, three types of practitioners. The third one may not tidy the tree. He may remove dry leaves with his foot. So that means he will not make under the ground clean or anything. He will not tidy the ground of the tree. He may just collect the leaves or just swipe away the leaves with his foot. Very simple. The medium one may have the tree tidied by visitors or anybody who came to monastery, right? Especially come to the tree he's going to live. So that means he cannot ask anybody to come to his tree and also clean like that, right? So when he sees somebody under the tree, he will ask him to tidy up. The mind one may have the tree tidied by his attendants or novices. Right? He may also make fence with the fixed gates. So that means he may not allow anybody to enter in his area. Right? Special compound for him. This is the mind one. It will be allowed for him. So one more thing here. Although it doesn't mention the many things about the roots, but they also mention that if we enter into the roots made of the cloth, it will be allowable. This is also one saying. Then they are given different things. According to Anguttara Nikaya memorizers, they say, knowingly if we enter into the roots and also spend his time until dawn rise, is a breach of the Visuddhimagga. It mentioned like that. This is according to Anguttara Nikaya. But briefly, we can understand, if we just go under a reed and under a roof with the intention to live, it's a breach of Visuddhimagga. As long as we don't enter with the intention to live, it will be okay. For example, when we go to the pagoda, so we may go to the shrine, the Dhamma hall, we may bow down the Buddha statues or something like that. We may leave, it's okay. Right? We don't have intention to live there. Then, so one more thing here. Rukam, previously we just have finished about the food, right? All the previous students are about the foods. This one is about living plates. Actually, in our ordination ceremony, at the end of the ordination, we also have to give instructions about full dependence. They also we mentioned we can live in the forest monasteries. We can also live under a tree, at the foot of a tree, under a foot of a tree. But this is also, we also have some exception. Then in the Vasa, we must span with the roots, under a roof. We must have Vasa Kuti, Vasa monasteries. We are not allowed to spend Vasa under a foot of a tree. This is the one thing we have to know. This is different from Vinaya and Visuddhimagga. If there is a Vinaya issues, we must follow Vinaya. We must not follow Visuddhimagga. Right? Visuddhimagga and Vinaya is more important. Vinaya is compulsory. Visuddhimagga is additional. Now when we can live under a foot of a tree, we cannot keep many properties. You can imagine, we may have only bow and ropes. We cannot bring many things here and there, right? So if we bring many different things, we're gonna live under a foot of a tree. If you like a storage, right? Then if we have many things, we'll be busy for many different things. Then they also mention, it's very easy to get. We can also easily understand it's very easy to get. Everywhere we can find the trees, we can live there. Then, according to the weather or the season, the trees are changing. Now, because of the rain, even in the summer, okay, now I live in the forest monastery, it's a little green forest now. A few months ago, totally skeleton. we can get sense of urgency by living in the forest. We can also develop the perceptions of nature, impermanence, by living in the forest. Not only that, if we live in the kuti, then we also have an avasa materiya. We don't want to share our living place with other people. This is called avasa materiya. Because we live in the forest under a tree, no more avasa materiya. We can move to another tree easily. Now we might not be busy with many different things. Right? If we are busy, we're going to live in the forest. We're going to live under a tree. Okay, we may have a lot of contentment with this practice. Okay, now we have next one, Abhokasika Dutenga. So Chananja Ruka Mulanja Briki Bami. Abhokasika Gan Samadhi Yami. Chanami, the roof. Ruka Mulami, the root of a tree. Briki Bami, I reject. He will refuse. Living under a roof or at the foot of a tree. Then Abhokasika Samadhi Yami, I undertake the open air dweller. So he also mentioned the practitioner can enter the Sima hall or any hall for listening to discourses, for preaching, for teaching, and so on. Just for Dhamma purpose. Not only here, although we say listening to the discourse, right? We can also say for learning. Teacher is not practicing Abhokasika. But some teacher may live in the monastery, in the kuti. Then the practitioner can go there, learn Dhamma from the teacher, is okay. Although he enter into the hall or the kuti, is not breaching of this practice. Not only that, sometimes people may request him to give Dhamma talk. He may give Dhamma talk in the Dhamma hall, under a roof. It doesn't matter. It will be allowable. Then he has to teach something. He can enter into the Sima hall or Dhamma hall anywhere. He can also enter the refectory and any other building to offer foods for the adults, to perform his duties, or to take chairs, tables, and so on. So that means he will get some furniture. He can go and take. This is also allowable. Then, while traveling or going for rounds, he can enter a pavilion or any building with a roof when raining. So in the rainy season or when raining. Okay, one more thing. This Abhokasika also same to Rukamula. In the rainy season, they must spend wasa in the kuti. It's not allowed to live in the open space. So sometimes, all is not rainy season. For example, now recently in Myanmar, it's not rainy season. Not rainy season yet. We have rain. Even a few days ago, 2 days ago, maybe we have rain. Like Singapore or Malaysia, right? They have tropical weather, hot rain like that. So it can be any time. Right? That means in Singapore you don't have a rainy season. In Malaysia also they don't have a rainy season. That's why when they have this kind of situations, even in the rainy season, okay, in the wasa, they can live in the tree, they can live in the kuti, but if no rainy season, it can rain anytime. That's when they will take shelter. It doesn't matter. It will be allowable for him. So the strict one may not live near a rock, a tree, or a house. he may live in a closed tent in the open air. So closed tank. Sometimes rock also can be big shelter. Tree also shelter, right? It doesn't mean enter, that means near. So a house is very clear, near the house. Although he's not entering a house, near the house also big shelter. So he may live in a closed tank. So now in modern society, modern communities, we can have a lot of tents. We can use the tent. We can live in the open air. It's allowable. I think in Thailand, they have this kind of culture. Many of Thai forest resident bhikkhus have this kind of culture. They can live with a closed tents in the open air. Even in Myanmar, I have been to one power branch in Guyana State. This is actually London school. They also use the closed tents for their living, especially when they are going to practice like a Parivasa or Manata, some probation, then they will use the closed tents. They live in their closed tents. They spend overnight. So because this is also inside the monastery, it doesn't matter. Also safe. Anyway, so the strict one can use the closed tent and open in the open air, right? Then the medium one may live near the rock, near a rock, a tree, or a house, as long as it does not cover his dwelling. So that means it's not covering his residence, his living place. Then it may be shelter, right? It doesn't matter, but not covering his living place. He can live. The mind one may live under a overhanging rock, a hat covered with branches, and a closed tent. So overhanging rock, you can imagine overhanging rock, right? Just living under a rock. Then a hat covered with the branches. So there will be a hat covered with the branches. Then a closed tent. This one is allowable for closed tent is allowable for 3. It doesn't matter. As long as it cannot protect him from the direct rainfall, it's allowable for him. So that means the mind one mentioned, right? As long as the living place cannot protect him from the direct rainfall, it will be okay. Then again, next one, Sosanika, the channel ground dweller. So they are mentioned Nasusanam Padikibami, Sosanikangam Samadhiyami. Nasusanami, known channel ground. Padikibami, I refuse. Similarly, Sosanikangam Samadhiyami, undertake the channel ground dweller. So here, if a dead body had been burned or buried there, it is channel ground, although it has been neglected for 12 years. So maybe one dead body is burned there, or one body has been buried there 12 years ago. It's still considered as Susana, channel ground, or cemetery. The strict one may live in the channel ground where there are always burning corpses, having bad smell, and mourning. Remember these 3 things, right? These 3 things: burning corpse, having bad smell, and mourning. That means it's not desirable place because of burning corpse, because of bad smell, because of people crying there, right? That's one. It's not a desirable place. Then again, the medium one may live in the channel ground where there are one of the three things mentioned above. Maybe burning corpse, or having bad smell, or mourning. Then the mind one may live in the channel ground, although it has been abandoned for 12 years. This is three types of practitioners. Then in reality, living in the channel ground is not that simple as other practice, because there can be many unseen living beings there. That is why when we are going to live there, we must inform to authorized persons in the village or somebody. Then, not only that, so we must not build monasteries or something like that. If we are going to practice Visuddhimagga, we must not make it like a London school teaching or something like that. So, yeah, in this case, when we are going to live, at least we must inform to senior bhikkhus or authorized person like a chairman or like a president, like we can like the smallest government in the area, right? We can also inform, because people can misunderstand when we live there without asking their permission. So when we are going to live in the forest monasteries, in the channel ground, actually we must go there, and also we must check everything before we go there. So at night we must stand there. Right? That's why. And like in the day, in daytime, we must go there, check where's the what. For example, there's a stumps, there's a tree, there's an anthill, there's a bushes, there's a we must know all the shape. Sometimes at night, even the bushes are swaying, blown by the wind. People may think, this is a ghost, It's frightening. We have to check everything in detail in the forest. Then, not only that, then we must also have compassion towards unseen living beings. For example, there will be some unseen living beings, we must not throw the straw, or we must not frighten them anymore. They will frighten us, we must not frighten them. Right? Then sometimes we can also see many other things. Right? It doesn't matter. Whatever thing we see, don't frighten, don't chase them out. Not only that, about the food. Actually, when we are going to live in the forest, we must avoid some types of food. For example, sesame, raw sesame, or sometimes our green sesame. Not only that, bean rice, fish, meat, wine, also milk and jaggery or molasses. Then all these things also a little risky for the bhikkhu who live in the cemetery, because some of the unseen living beings like this kind of food. If we have this kind of smell, they will come. So one more thing, if we are not very brave enough to live in the cemetery, we must bring 2 or 3 companions to live in the cemetery, right? Then, actually, for about this one, there was a limited time. That means in the middle watch of the night, he must live in the cemetery. So one more thing here, different, right? Previously, downrise here, not downrise. This is middle watch of the night. In the middle watch of the night, he must be in the cemetery. When he cannot go there, in the middle watch of the night, it is breach of the practice. So you can imagine the benefit of living in the cemetery, because we can see dead body, we may have asubha bhavana, we can also remember the death. Right? Always we have to see repulsive things. We have a lot of sense of urgency. Right? We may not have any, we may not be very proud. We can overcome pride and conceit. We also have a lot of endurance or perseverance. When we have to see many undesirable things, unseen living beings, right? Then we will also have very less attachment to our life or our body. Okay, so this is, okay, now we're back to two more, right? One is Yathasanati. Senasana Lolo Ban, Padeki Bami, Yathasanati Gangan Samadhi Yami. Yeah. When we use the English one as well, any bed dwellers. Actually, here mentioned Senasana Loluban. Senasana is actually living plates. Not only bed, actually living plates. So Lolubami, changing or maybe greedy Senasana. Padekibami mean refuse. Yarasanati Ganga Samadhi Yami, I undertake any bed dweller. So the practitioner must live in a kuti appointed or recommended by the in charge or responsible one. So in power we have kuti in charge. Right? The in charge will take responsibility, then he will give you, he will give us a living place. Then we have to live there. We must not move from that one. So for so that means sometimes he is a senior. Then if somebody live, junior people live in the good kuti, he went to live there, junior must move. But in his case, although somebody is living in the kuti, good kuti, then authorized person will give him another kuti. He must not ask junior people to move from very good kuti. Or that means if the responsible person give him very poor kuti, he must live there. No choice. Okay, now the step one may not ask whether the kuti is near or far, hot or cold, dangerous or safe. So this is step one. The medium one may ask the questions mentioned above. That means medium one may ask the kuti is near or far, hot or cold, dangerous or safe. But he must not go there and check it. Right? Doesn't mean although he asks, he must not go and ask and check whether it's suitable for him or not. He may not check. The mind one may go there and check it. So that means the mind one can ask whether the kuti is near or far, hot or cold, dangerous or safe. He can also go and check is it convenient for him or not. But he cannot move one kuti to another without sickness. So here are exceptions. Sometimes our living place is unsuitable for us, that we may have sickness, we can move. There will be exceptions. So this one is also not that much complicated, right? So that means when we wish to get good kuti or better kuti, or when we do change, then this is the breach of the practice. Then the last one, Nesaji. So Seyam Patekhi Pami, Nesaji Gangan, Samadhi Yami. Seyami, the bed. Then Visuddhimagga is only the sitter. So he may not use any bed. He may just sit down, walking, or standing. He may not lying down. So the practitioner must get up in any of the 3 watches of the night and walks up and down. It also allowable posture for him to lying down. Unallowable posture. Their unallowable posture is only lying down. It's not allowable for these practitioners. So strict one may not use a backrest, cloth band, or binding straps. So that means in order that he may not fall down, he may just use backrest or cloth band or binding straps. Then he may not use this one. Then the medium one may use one of the 3 things mentioned above. That means the medium one may use like backrest or cloth band or binding straps. The mind one may use 3 of them, also an armchair and anything like that. Actually, in the Visuddhimagga, it mentioned a little bit more in detail about the mind one. That means, in the armchairs, there will be 4 legs. From the back, there's also backrest, right? Then there will be 2 armrest. So altogether 7. 4 legs, 2 armrest, 1 backrest, altogether 7. So without armrest, it can be 5. So backrest can be, like for example, the medium one can use the chair without armrest. Then the mind one can use the chair with backrest, also armrest. This thing will be different. So these are Shuddhanga practice for a bhikkhu. Then lay person also can practice. For example, like living in the forest is also possible. Living under a tree is also possible. Living in the open space also possible. And most living place. For about the food. So for example, like Kalupacha Shuddhanga is about Vinaya. Only bhikkhu can practice. Lay person cannot practice this kind of things. Okay. Anyway, so these are Shuddhanga practice. Then if we are able to, if we have ability to practice, we can also do it. If we don't have ability to practice Shuddhanga, we can also practice just normally without Shuddhanga, just practice Sila. So we have to train ourselves to be free from attachment. So when we can practice Shuddhanga, we may have less attachment. We may have more contentment. We may have more freedom. We may be less busy. Otherwise, we will be very busier. But now, if we practice, we have to reduce our duties, our activities. So we may have more time to practice. Then we can also. Last week, somebody asked me, when we can practice Shuddhanga, can we attain headship faster? Of course, if we are strong enough to practice Shuddhanga, we can practice, sure, we can attain Nirvana faster because we have less attachment already. So with the wrong intentions or with improper intentions, if we practice Shuddhanga, then it will be very harmful for the practitioners. Okay, anyway, it's also very valuable for us. There's some information we can use in our daily life. For example, if we know we must live in the forest, if we live scared, we can also use all the methods mentioned in Susana Shuddhanga. We can check all the trees nearby. We can also listen all the sounds. What kind of sound come from where? If we can check everything in detail, we will feel safe, right? That's why. Although we cannot practice Visuddhimagga, all the informations are useful for our practice. When we are living in the forest or living in the village or anywhere, we can use anytime. So, okay, as conclusions, we all be able to practice the Buddha teaching, morality, the concentration, the wisdom. As a result of the practice, we all be able to realize the final sensations, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Question 1. Dear Sayadaw, about the previous lecture 12, please let us know the questions, the answers to these questions. The Dhutanga training practitioner of the tree robe wearer, he can't wear the Kadupati Chadi, that is the robe to cover the skin diseases, like the huge acne in getting that sickness.
Sure. If we have this kind of thing, we should not wear. But one more thing, if we have sickness, actually, we should not practice Visuddhimagga. Right? So there are some people, they were very strict and they are very willing to practice, and they can do, but they must not use any extra closure. Okay?
Okay. Second question, when the devotee choose one of the Dhutanga as possible and practice it hardly, then can he obtain more parami than not practicing it?
Yeah, we can also understand like that, sure. I mean, you have more contentment, more fullness or wish, you can have more parami, sure.
Vandami Sayadaw, can bhikkhus stay in a hotel? How do they determine if the hotel is suitable for residing?
Actually, hotel is a little bit problem because if single cottage is okay, not really a big problem. It's like very many stories, many different rooms under the same roof, then it is not longer according to Vinaya. Right? That's why I don't recommend to live in the hotel.
Dear Sayadaw, nowadays we see some tradition monks going on tudong, with many followers following behind them. What is the purpose of tudong? Is this a type of Dhutanga practice?
Tudong, I don't know tudong. What is tudong? The Thai tradition or any other tradition?
Yes, I think the Thai forest tradition. They go and they walk sometimes in the forest, or they walk.
Oh, I see. Okay, they will very long time walking, right?
Yes.
They just go for Pada in the village and they spend overnight there. Then also in the daytime they couldn't use their journey like that. Actually, this is not compulsory. We cannot say this is Dhutanga practice. This is on their traditional practice.
Vandami Sayadaw, some trees have very big tree trunks and there is hollow in the tree trunk. Can the tree-foot dweller stay in the hollow of the tree?
Okay, so that means in the trunk, very big hole. You mean, right? Not in the branch, in the very big trunk, it's like a kuti already. In this case, it will be exception. We can live.
Could Sayadaw please list down the ascetic practices from easy to difficult ones? In the Pakao monastery or in the modern world now, which ascetic practices are possible to do and which are not? Is it good that one tries to practice the ascetic practices one by one?
Okay, for example, like we have for about the food, right? For about the foods, Binda Padika, going for Binda Pada is possible. House to house seeker is possible. Modern society, very easy, right? Possible. What about the clothes, right? Pasukulika also possible. Also, Tijilika also possible because this is just clothes. It doesn't matter. So, I think what about the living place also? Living place is a little bit problem because now modern weather is very bad now. If we don't have good weather, we cannot meditate well. This was one of the problems. For meditator, like in the forest, but like Abokasika, living in an open space. In the summer, it's very, very hot, it's very terrible. It's almost impossible to live like that. It depends on the place we live. For example, like a very cold country, like Korea or Japan or some part of China or some Euro country, America, very, very cold area, a very, very cold area, also very terrible. Open space, living in the open space, you can imagine. So that kind of thing is a little bit risky in modern society. About living place, we have to consider. For about food, but one more thing, if we are going to practice, we must prepare we must find all the solutions first. After that, it will be okay, right?
Dear Sayadaw, some monasteries in Thailand teach to stay in cemeteries. Is staying in cemeteries a type of Dhutanga practice also?
Okay, so that means
for 4, the house-to-house seeker, he should go for alms round earlier than other bhikkhus in order that he must have enough time to go to another village if he cannot get sufficient food in one village. How does the bhikkhu decide whether the food is sufficient? Is there a rule for this?
Okay, so we cannot say a rule. It depends on ourselves. Actually, we must, and then I want to talk about moderating in food. We must know how much we can eat, how much we can consume. If we have enough food, we can go back. Sometimes, only 2 or 3 houses in one area. They are poor. We may go for Pindapada. We don't have enough food. We must go to another village. Right? So they are also poor. They cannot offer enough food. We must go to another village like that. It depends on the place we live. And we have to go earlier than other people's, right? Okay.
Next question. Dear Sayadaw, in Pakao Monastery, I have seen a bhikkhu wearing robes sewn by joining many different small patches of cloths together. Is this the practice of red robe wearer?
Yes, we can say it's a red robe wearer, but actually, it's not that much necessary to wear this kind of things. If we just have normal robes, people pass away with them, it's dead body. This is also Passcode. Or it's not stick with many small pieces. It's okay, it's confused. People get confused. Only somebody who can wear like small pieces, sew into many pieces, then this is called Passcode robes. Actually, this is a wrong misunderstanding. Okay?
For Enkasanika and Patapindika, does that mean both of these practitioners only eat once a meal? In one day, only one times means one meal?
Okay, for Pena Padika, actually, Pena Padika doesn't mean it's only one meal, it's only one bowl. For the Ekasanika is only one meal. These two are different, right?
Okay. Second part of the question, for the distance between, for the measurements of distance from the village pillar, it says that it is the strength of the middle, a person with a middle strength, the throwing stones distance. So for throwing stones, does that mean to use not much energy, naturally throw a piece of small stone?
Okay, so in this case, we have to understand like competition. There's some young boy, or maybe like a teenager, they are the competition. In the competition, they will throw the stone, each other, how far I can throw something like that, right? That kind of competition. This is called middle strength. It doesn't matter. Middle strength means only people's middle strength. Middle strength people. No, it doesn't mean he used middle strength. Just use all his energy to throw the stones like a competition. Okay, this one.
Okay. Pandami Bante, Buddhism well known for Nama-Rupa wisdom, but why practically meditation center of well-respected teacher not accept Siale but accept female yogi? I'm confused.
Not accept female yogi?
Not accept Siale but accept female yogi.
Oh, little strange, right? Okay, so that means they may have some experience maybe, right? I don't know why they have that kind of rules.
To practice this Chudanga, how to overcome the bodily suffering, for example, hunger, cold, and the tiredness because of this Nesajika practice.
Okay, so one more then, right? You know, okay, this can have to explain about Venerable Devadatta, okay? You may know Venerable Devadatta also requested the Buddha to lay down the rules for the bhikkhus. Bhikkhu must not live in the village, he must live in the forest monastery, right? Also just like a Rokha Mula Tutenka, something like that, right? Then also the Timako Pada, something like that, lay down the rules for the bhikkhus. Then Buddha rejected it. For those who wish to practice, okay, let them practice. For those who don't wish to practice, don't practice. So it depends on the body strength. So we have different situations. Sometimes our body strength is not so strong. Then, or if we practice Chudanga, we will collapse. So we should consider our situations. Sometimes although our body strength is very strong, but we are impatient. Mentally, we are impatient. This is also not really very good, right? Impatience. So we cannot practice Chudanga. So, okay. Now, this is no concern. The answer will be like this. That's simple, right? So that means if our body strength is strong enough, practice. Our body is not strong enough, don't practice. It's wasting time. We're going to improve our meditation. Similarly, our mental energy, or like mineral resistance, right? Like endurance or patience, it's not strong enough, we should not practice. Then the Buddha also talk about different meditators there. So there are some meditators, they have very strong body energy. They can bear very strong heat or cold, they can overcome because their body is strong enough. But they don't have mental energy, they don't have mind power, they are impatient. They should live in the forest. This is what the Buddha said. Okay, I'm just on the forest monastery. Okay, and just talk about forest monastery. Then again, there are some people, they don't have bodily strength, but they have mental strength. Mentally, they can prevail any kind of situations. For them, if they live in the forest, they can get sick easily. That's why they should live in the village, in village monastery. Then not only that, if somebody has both of them, mental strength and bodily strength, he can practice anywhere. If somebody does not have both of them, he cannot meditate anymore. He cannot achieve anything. This is what the Buddha said. Do according to whenever Devadatta request. Okay, the main thing is, it depends on our body strength. We can choose our Chudanga. If we are not strong enough, this additional practice is not compulsory. We should skip. Okay?
You would like to ask for one meals a day, is there a time limit? Means a meal must be finished before noon. For layperson, if they observe the precept, if the bowl they are using cup, if the cup is too small, can he repeatedly fill the rice in the cup when he practice these precepts?
Of course, you can do. You can do, sure. You can repeat, sure. You can repeat. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Only one time eating. Sit down on one time. Just eat everything. It's okay. No problem.
Dear Sayadaw, some monastics may feel very tense when they need to keep their rules well, and in this way it affects their meditation also. How should one maintain a good mind set to balance their sila and practice?
Actually, if we think about the rules too much, then it will become the disturbance for our practice. So that means, for example, like a meditator, just go to the meditation hall, meditate, just think about only meditation. Then you can follow all the rules, it doesn't matter. When we have more free time than meditation, then it will be the problem. Don't make your mind free too much. Think about meditation more. Approach that like anytime, just think about meditation. You can overcome you can follow all the rules, it doesn't matter. Okay?
In China, the traditional Chinese practitioner, you have to go to the mountain to collect this herbal medicine. According to the government, China government, all those lands belongs to the government in China. So if he go and collects all these herbal plants or purchase all these herbal plants from the markets to cook in order to for therapy, would that consider breaking the precepts?
Okay, as long as it's not prohibited by the law, it's okay. We cannot say stealing. Well, some kind of plants will be prohibited, right? Then we must not use this kind of plant. This is also according to the law. So it depends on the law. We don't need to think about too much about it. It's not stealing. Okay.
Thank you, Sayadaw. Next question. Dear Sayadaw, practice Dhutanga allowed to wear slippers?
It's okay. Wearing slippers is not in Dhutanga. It doesn't mention.
Next question. Dear Sayadaw, Venerable Mahakassapa was the #1 disciple famous for the ascetic practice. Was there any bhikkhuni who was the #1 for the ascetic practices in Buddha's time?
Actually, there will be, but I don't remember.
Okay, and the second one, the core spirit of ascetic practices is to be contented with little, with few desires. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure.
Vandami Sayadaw, for Ikasanika, strike one, and Kalupachabhitika, rules easily, monks can choose his own room to eat to avoid unexpected situations that can make into Dhutanga.
So actually, Dhutanga, we have to undertake Dhutanga separately, right? So for Kalupacha, actually this one is called Vinaya. In Vinaya also we have this kind of practice. But only one, this one is Dhutanga. In Dhutanga is strict, more strict than Vinaya. It will be different, right? So like that means if we can practice Dhutanga, we have already avoided many situations according to Vinaya. Okay, just avoiding some Vinaya, breaking Vinaya rules, right? This one.
Second one, which ones in 13 Dhutanga bring more merits for the monk? Sadhu.
Actually, we cannot say which ones are more merits. The main thing is like it depends on our minds, right? Also how we accept it or how we practice. So that means like a strict one, medium one, the mind one, already mentioned three levels. So if we can do strict one, sure, this is the best. Right? It depends on our mind also, how we accept it. Why we practice. Now for faith or for gain, this is very bad. Just for for overcoming greed, it will be okay. To have children or wish, to have contentment, this is good. This is good attitudes, good intentions. Then it will be more merit. Okay. Ita wata cha amehi sambadam punya sambadam Sabbe Deva Numodandu, Sabbe Buddha Numodandu, Sabbe Satta Numodandu, Sabba Sambati Siriya, Idam Me Nyadinam Hodu, Sukhita Hondu Nyadeyo, Idam Me Nyadinam Hodu, Sukhita Hondu Nyadeyo, Idam Me Nyadinam Hodu, Sukhita Hondu Nyadeyo, Idam Me Bunyam Asawakaya Waham Hodu, Idam Me Bunyam Nivanasa Pajayo Hodu, Mama Bunya Bhagam Sabha Sadanam Bhajimi De Sabbe Me Samam Bunya Bhagam Lavandu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu.